Alright, enough screwing around. It's time for Grimm. Okay, some screwing around still, because as we know, it's no longer Mr. Grimm, but rather the gender-neutral Captain Grimm.
Revenge! 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 The clown's soul will dangle from the captain's hook.
Apparently he wants revenge. Or at least his parrot seems to think so. But revenge for what? Stealing all the spotlight despite their mutual omnipresence throughout the series? Forcing Grimm into a life of piracy? Who's to say, but revenge is on the menu, and we'll have to brave the maze in order to get it. If you get lost, please do not panic. Get to the top, or call a mechanic. Maybe we're getting revenge for all the bad poetry we've had to read. But regardless, that is very good advice. So much so that we're going to go straight for the secret, immediately. Right at the beginning of this level. The maze consists of 3 levels on top of one another, each smaller than the last. And at the very highest level, we will be able to collect the environmental weapon, which is tremendously useful. It is, once again, a lightning bolt, but different from all the others. We'll see why when I accidentally misfire it in the middle of combat in a few minutes. Another benefit of climbing all the way to the top is a better vantage point of what the level looks like, because it is a maze, and you need to get your bearings in order to figure out what is even going on. The radar is all but useless unless you are at the top level, because if you drive directly towards any of the opponents, you will likely end up at a dead end, and you'll have to backtrack and reset, and by the time you get to where they might have been, they're long gone. Just as a rule, if you ever lose sight of your target, you may as well forget about them, head back to higher ground. Which, of course, is extremely difficult, because you need to memorize the basic layout of the level before you can even find your way to the higher ground. This is going to make all the combat very, very slow-paced, resulting in a level that I would describe in a way I have never described any other Twisted Metal level. I would call this level chill. You want to take it easy and practice a lot of patience. You did just see me fulfill the prophecy and misfire the lightning attack that I collected at the beginning of the level. And from now on, anytime we spot anybody, they're going to be heavily damaged at half health or less, even if we had never made any previous contact with them. The lightning attack covers almost the entire level. It is practically unavoidable if you're on any of the 3 levels of the maze. The only safe spots are the platform on which the pickup is collected, and an underground segment below the maze that we'll see later. So, since most of the enemies will not be in either of those spots, they will take the full brunt of the lightning attack, which does exponentially more damage than it does in any of the previous levels. So, a fantastic strategy is to get the lightning pickup and weaken all the enemies you can find. Then fire it off to hopefully kill a bunch of them, and if not, bring them all deep into the red so that you can kill them quickly. Otherwise, their AI routine to collect health pickups will be triggered, and they will wander around, be kind of irritating and hard to catch. And the most irritating thing they can do is being demonstrated right now. All 4 corners of this gigantic map have a teleporter in them, and it just leads to the next teleporter. So it's an endless teleporter loop. If an enemy gets to one while you're chasing them, they will just keep going through them and avoid damage forever until you back off. Then they will try and go for a health pickup. At that point, you can try and chase them down and finish them off like I did with the Joneses there. But it can be very irritating, especially when there's only one enemy left. Because then you just need to go wander and do nothing for a little while. I was able to trick the Joneses into a false sense of security, summoning the next set of enemies, a fully uninjured General Warthog. So I'll do what I can to soften him up with what I have. but we will require significantly more firepower to finish him off. And collecting items here is even more of a pain than it was on the oil rig. We need to go wandering for quite a while, navigating all these narrow corridors. Luckily, there is this subterranean area, blocked off by fences. Here's where we'll find what we need. Also, drawn in blood, is the spiral from the Book of Saw. Stained glass paintings of Sweet Tooth. Looks like a demon over there. Perhaps Minion himself. A bloody eyeball. There's probably Calypso, looking extra goth. And finally, of course, Grimm himself. He is still rightfully acknowledged as one of the 4 main characters of Twisted Metal. Perhaps his revenge is not so necessary after all. There's even more blood drawings on the walls. Each corner has a different one. Like this little arrow pointing up with a dot underneath. Some kind of bizarre symbol. And there's also an X with a line. Vertical line drawn through it. Almost like an asterisk, but not quite. And we can't see it on these shadowy textures, but you can see it on the flags outside. And in the loading screen, it is very plainly visible. And that is all there is to see down there, but it is the only other safe spot from the lightning attack. Which, if you see an enemy take no damage from the lightning, or reduce damage, it's because they're hanging out in the basement. Speaking of which, the lightning's back. It will carry us throughout the entire rest of this level. If we can get it. I hate when that happens. Enemies sniping me out of midair. But it'll be worth it if we grab this thing. There's obviously good reason they will try to prevent us from doing so. I've got it now, though. So we'll just sit here up on the platform and fire it off intentionally. Trying to get a good view of the area. But since none is available, just let it kill everybody off screen. Just as well. Obviously that's something you want to do early so that you have as many different targets as possible to enjoy the multiplicative effect of hitting as many enemies as you can. And you want to do it often because it is by far the most damaging thing you can do on this level. It's like the environmental attack in the Snowy Roads of Twisted Metal Black. But that only covers about a third of the level and does very tiny damage to all the enemies. This covers almost the entire level, does critical damage to everybody. It's fantastic. Now, in a blind playthrough of this level, you might not even be able to find the lightning, and if you do, you might not know its true power, so you might misuse it. And therefore would have to play this level legitimately, while also not knowing the layout nearly as well as I do, resulting in an unbearably tedious experience. Which is what I went through the first several times I had to play this level. I would normally, when I do these videos, try to show off every square inch of a level in a way that would, in some way, convey the general layout to the viewer. Didn't even attempt it with this video. It is a fool's errand. As many times as I play this level, I still don't know the entire layout 100%. I still get lost. It is the intended design of this level. Luckily, the lightning did all the heavy lifting in dealing with the low armor opponents. So now, we get to experience the fury of tracking down a solitary boss opponent hidden within a gigantic maze. So while I am arming up for that eventual encounter, we can finally talk about the music. This is, surprisingly enough, Rob Zombie's Super Beast, a remix thereof. And many websites to this day credit it as the Girl on a Motorcycle remix by Charlie Clouser. If you were to listen to the Girl on a Motorcycle remix, it would be completely unrecognizable from what we're hearing. It is a completely different remix. What we have here is a unique mix of Super Beast, composed specifically for Twisted Metal 4 and only appearing in this game. It is unnamed and there are no credits for who made it. It's sort of like the Jingle Bell remix of More Human Than Human in Twisted Metal 3. They made a new song out of a Rob Zombie song. And it is very, very laid back. Very much suits the vibe of the level, the chill, laid back thing that they were going for. Whether or not you like that vibe is a matter of opinion. But if this level must exist, it may as well have appropriate music. Also, the Girl on a Motorcycle remix is in the game. It is played during the Rob Zombie ending, where the live action footage cuts in. There's a weird mix of Super Beast, and that is the mix that is credited in the game. Unlike the mix we're hearing now. Now, Minion himself is kinda ill-suited to this level. He has a hard time turning around in narrow corridors, which is all this level is. So usually you can get him to face a wall and just get stuck there and not be able to point his special at you, because when he does that, you take tremendous amounts of burst damage. The special is, as usual, 3 missiles, one of which freezes you upon impact. So if he manages to tag you even once, you are in actual mortal peril for the first time in this entire level. And I've had to run away from him because he dealt too much damage to me. Now he's loose and able to get a bead on us with his homing missiles. Unfortunately, I've used up all the health refills, mostly in an attempt to deprive the enemies of collecting them. I had a few bad experiences with this level, and I wanted to make it as not tedious as possible. I may have overcompensated and left myself without defenses. The lightning is just up ahead, it will save us, but Minion doesn't want me getting it. Managed to distract him, led him out the wrong direction. Couldn't quite follow me. I've got the lightning. Let us rain the power of God upon this demon. And exorcise him from the level. It dealt nearly half of his entire health bar. And even though we won in such a cheap, exploitative way, we still ranked up to Gladiator. And we were at Gladiator rank this entire level, which is why enemies were a little bit more defensive. Having now defeated them all, we've earned ourselves an audience with Sweet Tooth.
Captain Grimm, you have, without a shadow of a doubt, proven yourself the strongest, most cunning, and hitherto, the champion of our Twisted Metal battles. Through Sweet Tooth kindness and good heart, you are hereby offered one wish for your achievement. Give us your wish, Captain.
Here's my one wish. The captain wishes to meet Sweet Tooth in a sword fight to the death, and the prize to the victor, the soul of the first one dead. The soul of the first one dead!
Your wish has been granted, driver! The soul of the first one dead!
Good thing that parrot repeated itself so often. Thing was almost as hard to understand as Quattro was. And the ironic twist was pretty embarrassing, but that was the 3rd time out of 4 games that Grimm has wished for the soul of the host of the competition. And at least it was much better executed than the Twisted Metal 3 version, I'll grant it that. Also kind of gross to see the parrot itself, all covered in blood. So, adequate ending, well animated if nothing else. Onto our bonus level, the Islands, and a little bit of gameplay out of Minion itself. Get a better look at what this thing can do, because we certainly couldn't see very much of it in the maze. If we did see it, we were already dead. The Island's not a place to vacation with the family, so good thing we didn't bring the Joneses, unless they are our randomly assigned opponent, but no, it's Quattro. And you'll note, I only picked one enemy here. because I'm only doing this for demonstrative purposes. The islands are somehow the most boring of the bonus levels, and I simply don't have a single thing to say about them. They're just islands, separated by bounce pads. They launch you really, really high up, and then drop you down slowly. It's faster to navigate the islands using the jump, like that. And that's it. Just a handful of pickups. Not even very many. On to our combat. Use our special on Quattro, which freezes him over the death pit for an automatic kill. So, that was so fast. I feel Minion has been slightly underserved. We'll take another quick look at that special. It's called the Serpent. It fires those 3 missiles. The top one is a freeze missile. And it's worth noting it literally cannot hit small opponents if they are too close to your vehicle. The point from which it fires is too high off the ground. It will simply go over their head. But if you keep your distance, all 3 shots will converge on your target, freeze them, launch them a million miles away because almost every vehicle in the game feels extremely weightless. So knockback will send them flying. You're pretty much going to get an automatic instant kill. And believe it or not, that concludes the penultimate chapter of this Let's Play. Next time, we will confront Sweet Tooth directly in the thrilling finale of Twisted Metal 4.